Good afternoon, class. My name is Cynthia Malone, and welcome to Communication Technology Update and Fundamentals. Today we'll be discussing Chapter 14 of our text, which is ebooks. A few of our discussion points will be: what is an ebook, background of ebooks, technical advances, recent developments, subscription services, current statuses, factors to watch, getting a job. So without further ado, let's move into our first discussion point: what is an ebook? Next slide. The ebook is a digitized version of a book meant to be read on a computer, e-reader, tablet, or smartphone. Many of the best-selling ebook titles are digital versions of popular print books without any significant structural changes from the print form. But some also introduce animation, video, hypertext, and social networking into the reading process. In addition to major titles, self-published books also play an important role in the ebook market. Next slide. The goal of the ebook is to provide the ability to read books through an on-screen interface rather than on paper. Next slide. In the communication ecosystem perspective, the text and images of the ebook are the content. Just as in printed books and periodicals, what is written is the message being communicated. What ebook technology brings us is a new way to distribute and consume that message. The ability to read ebooks is driven by software that allows devices to display the books properly and hardware developed specifically for e-reading. The most important hardware for the original diffusion of ebooks is the e-reader. These are lightweight, handheld devices designed specifically for reading ebooks and other digital text, such as newspapers and magazines. Unlike computers, many of which are stationary or heavy to carry, and some books, which can be bulky and heavy, e-readers can hold libraries of thousands of books and only weigh half a pound. E-readers also offer the ability to download new content at any time of the day and anywhere one can connect to a computer or the internet. Though key to the original ebook market, e-readers are not necessary to read an ebook, and many ebook users read on computer, tablet, and smartphone screens. Unlike a print book, which can be read without special devices, an ebook is entirely dependent upon the user having a computer, tablet, mobile device, or a specialized e-reader to access the content. Next slide. Background information. The original development of the ebook predates the e-reader and the wide diffusion of ebooks by about 20 years. Michael Hart, widely considered to be the father of ebooks, began a project called Gutenberg, a digital book library, in 1971 in an attempt to catalog and make accessible all human knowledge. For 20 years, the ebook continued being developed without any specialized reader and was only used by a small number of people who had access to a computer. By the 1980s, an infrastructure of personal computers was in place that could enable a large number of individuals to read ebooks using their personal computers. But the ebook did not become popular. The spread of ebooks would be limited until a large-scale diffusion of personal computers, the internet, and online retailing created the right environment. Next slide. The first portable e-reader was introduced in the early 1990s. Sony Data Discman used the compact disc as a method of storing data, which allowed for reading books without a bulky hard drive. The Data Discman was similar to a portable gaming system. It accessed information from miniature CDs and displayed the information on a screen. Although primitive compared to current e-readers, it is easy to see the origin of current designs when looking at the first Data Discman. Sony continued to develop the Discman until the end of the decade, but it was never widely adopted. From the creation of the first e-reader, it would take another 17 years before one was introduced to the public market that became popular. Next slide. Technological advances. One of the biggest technological advances in e-readers was the development of electronic ink. A spin-off of MIT's Media Lab, E-Ink Corporation combined chemistry, physics, and electronics to create electronic ink, which, when used in an e-reader or tablet, it's so paper-like it can fool the reader's eye. Electronic ink is really millions of small capsules, each containing black and white particles. A device such as an e-reader sends an electric charge to each capsule, making it appear either black or white, thus forming words or images on the screen. In color, e-ink, the black and white capsules appear under a color filter. Sony again led the market in 2006 when it offered the Sony Reader, the first e-reader to offer an e-ink display. Unlike a normal backlit computer screen, e-ink screens behave more like normal paper and require external light to be read, making the experience much more like reading a paper book. Even with this advance, it was not until Amazon entered the scene the following year that the e-reader took off. Amazon, the online retailer that began as a bookstore and remains primarily invested in book sales, released the Kindle Reader in 2007, just in time for the holiday season. The release marked the first time that an e-reader was a popular success. The Kindle was not marketed differently from the Sony Reader. The primary difference that allowed the Kindle to be successful was the existence of a company that already sold many books through online interactions. Though the public at large did not warm immediately to the e-reader, Amazon's customers had been primed for the e-book by purchasing books online and reading on-screen text for years. Amazon had a large enough reading customer base that, unlike Sony, they had a target audience that was easy to advertise to through their normal day-to-day sales. Sony's failure and Amazon's success are an excellent example of the importance of pre-diffusion theory discussed in Chapter 4. While Sony's focus and expertise was producing and distributing hardware, Amazon had expertise in distributing both hardware and software, making it much easier for Kindle to achieve the diffusion threshold. With the Kindle came something new for ebooks: specialized formatting for different devices. Before the Kindle, ebooks were in universal formats such as PDF or plain text. But with this release of the Kindle, Amazon introduced a proprietary format that can only be read through the correct kind of device or software. Barnes & Noble's Nook followed in 2009 with a format that could not be read on Kindle. Finally, setting the stage for the current e-reader marketplace, Apple released its iPad tablet in 2010. The iPad, like a computer, allows the reader to access both Kindle and Nook formats. But it also enables readers to download proprietary ebooks from Apple's iBookstore that cannot be read on the other machines. Next slide. The iPad is a tablet computer that has many functions, only one of which is the ability to read ebooks. In fact, the iPad is much more similar to a laptop than to an e-reader in every way except that it is much lighter than a laptop. The iPad lacks the e-ink display, so the reading experience is much more like reading on a computer. Nevertheless, the iPad altered the landscape of the e-reader marketplace by introducing more functionality to a device that has almost all of the benefits of an e-reader. The iPad was a game changer. Amazon and Barnes & Noble realized that they needed to keep pace by offering consumers a product that had at least some of the advanced capabilities of the iPad. The race for larger screens, email, and web browsing on e-readers began, and soon both companies offered tablets. Before the 2011 holiday season, Amazon introduced the Kindle Fire, and Barnes & Noble introduced the Nook tablet. Both of these devices offered capabilities similar to those of the iPad, despite coming from the lineage of their e-inked book reading-based predecessor. With Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and Apple all having significant online retail experience and the improvements in bandwidth, making downloading ebooks a simple and fast process, consumers have almost immediate access to any content they want. Early adopters of the e-reader had to download an ebook to their computer before they could transfer it to their e-reader. But e-readers now have Wi-Fi and 3G, 4G broadband access, which allows consumers to search for, buy, download, and read ebooks no matter where they are or may be. The success of the iPad and other tablets in the ebook market has helped establish what will likely be the most important hardware for the future of ebooks. Smartphones have become a major part of e-reading, and consumers have accustomed themselves to reading on tablet screens, often in the same operating system as their smartphone. And smartphones have developed more storage, longer battery lives, and better and larger screens. The ownership of smartphones far outpaces that of e-readers and tablets, and has created a much larger potential audience for ebooks. Next slide. Now we'll discuss recent developments. The e-reader. Though partly responsible for the rise of the e-book's popularity, e-reader sales have plummeted, even as e-book sales have grown. The dedicated e-reader has struggled to stay relevant, and lack of innovation has given users little reason to upgrade from their older models. Barnes & Noble has been forced out of the e-reader market in the UK, and it seems likely that they will soon stop production of the Nook entirely. Although Amazon continues to release slightly improved Kindle models, their focus has become their tablet, the Kindle Fire. In late 2015, they introduced a Fire model that they sold for $50, a lower price than their e-ink dedicated e-readers, and meant to serve not only the Kindle ebooks, but also Amazon Prime's video service. The focus on tablets notwithstanding, smartphones are democratizing the availability of ebooks. As of December 2014, 54% of ebook buyers had used smartphones to read ebooks, a number that has only grown since. The growing popularity of larger displays in Apple and Android phones has also helped spur the move to the smartphone as an e-reader. After the introduction of the iPhone 6, 45% of ebooks downloaded from iBook were to phones, a massive jump from only 28% before. Next slide. The formats. Given the increasing use of tablets and smartphones as reading devices, the apps that connect phones to their reading libraries have become more important than the dedicated e-reader. To both promote and popularize their format, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other device manufacturers have created free apps for the major smartphone operating systems that allow you to use your phone as an e-reader. So a tablet or a smartphone can give a reader access to Kindle, Nook, and iBook purchases and formats, eliminating at least some of the challenges of the lack of ebook format standardization. Still, the mixed format issues are a large part of why the Nook is failing and why it is possible for one ebook ecosystem, Amazon's, to maintain market dominance. When Michael Hart began Project Gutenberg in 1971, his desire was to provide 99% of the public with access to free or very low-cost versions of books and documents that were already in the public domain. His goal was to select text that would be of interest to the general public and make those texts accessible and readable and searchable on 99% of the hardware that anyone, anywhere might run. Making those texts available to the largest possible number of users was accomplished by selecting an universal format that ran on every computer and operating system from DOS and Apple to Unix and mainframe computers. That universal language was called the plain ASCII text. As ebooks became a venture for publishers and booksellers, the formats for accessing the content became less universal. In addition to the various devices which are used for reading ebooks, the various formats have fragmented ebook consumers into groups that own a particular device and buy content from the supplier that delivers content readable on that device. All readers support PDF files, which might identify this as a possible universal format, but PDF does not allow many of the benefits of the e-reader, including resizing and searching the text. It just shows up as an image. Almost all the platforms support the EPUB format, the closest to a universal format that is offered. But the largest of the suppliers, Amazon, does not support this standard. Although there have been some attempts and pressure to create a universal standard, none is forthcoming. This forcing of formats onto users is a matter of convenience and cost. It is convenient for a reader to stay with one supplier of content because switching to another supplier would mean switching to another e-reader and either converting original files to a format readable by the new device, or in some cases having to repurchase entire libraries of books, which dramatically increases the cost beyond the initial reinvestment in the new hardware. Even if a reader buys an e-reader or tablet that has the capability of accessing content from the different suppliers through apps, there is the inconvenience of switching between apps to view desired ebook and an inability to easily search across an entire library of ebooks. It seems, however, that the war of the e-readers is essentially over. The clear winners are smartphones and tablets because of their convenience and multifunctionality. Although the Kindle and other e-ink devices continue to hold on to a niche market, the death of the Nook in the UK makes it clear that the future is in other kinds of devices. The question is whether dedicated e-readers will even exist in a decade, and whether e-ink will play any part at all. Amazon's own introduction of the $50 Fire, which is cheaper than the e-ink Kindle, shows that e-readers are becoming irrelevant. For more information regarding different e-reader formats, please review Table 14.1 in our text of Chapter 14. Next slide. Subscription services. The major area of flux since 2015 has been in subscription services. In 2015, Scribd partnered with Marvel Comics, Harlequin, and major audiobook producers to provide access for their subscribers. They were forced to limit access to the romance books because romance readers were reading too many books per month. Likewise, they were forced to limit the number of audiobooks users could access a month to only one, with each additional audiobook costing the same as the monthly subscription fee. Scribd survived the year relatively unscathed compared to other subscription services like Oyster and Entitle. All three services paid publishers full retail price for each book downloaded, a model that proved unsustainable. Entitle shuttered in July of 2015. Oyster was purchased by Google and was shut down in January 2016. Amazon's market share and the books they acquire cheaply through publishing within the Amazon's ecosystem allows it to undercut the prices of other ebook sellers. Given the closure and tightening of other ebook sellers, the future of subscription services is unclear, even as publishing seems to think this is the direction the market should take. It is likely that Amazon's Kindle Unlimited service will lead the market, simply because no one else can afford to participate on equal footing. Equally important is the future of independent and Amazon ebook publishing, as distinct from mainstream publishing. As the large publishers have increased the price of ebooks, their share of the market has decreased. Print sales hold steady, but the big five and small to medium-sized publishers now make up a minority of ebook sales. Next slide. Current statuses. 74% of ebooks sold in 2015 were purchased from Amazon. More than 54 million Americans are members of Amazon Prime, and these members are worth about $1,100 a year to Amazon. The Apple iBookstore has the second largest market share, with only 11% of the total volume, with the Nook, Kobo, and Google Play all falling well behind. Next slide. Ebooks still are a minority of book sales and books read. 72% of Americans read a book in 2015. 63% of Americans read a book in print, and 27% of Americans read an ebook. This means less than 10% of Americans are reading ebooks exclusively. So, the majority of readers remain either print only or a mix of print and ebook. Only 19% of Americans had dedicated e-readers in 2015, down from 32% in 2011. 54% of those ebook readers have read a book on their smartphones. More Kindle app books are read on the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus than on any other iOS device, including iPads. Before it shuttered, 55% of Oyster's reading activity was on smartphones. Ebooks are also popular in libraries. Overdrive reports that more than 169 million ebooks were borrowed in 2015, which is a 24% increase over 2014. Ebooks are also playing a major role in education. 1/3 of K-12 instructional materials budget is for digital content, and 80% of schools are using digital content in the classroom. New York City Public Schools, which serve over 1 million students, signed a $30 million deal with Amazon in April of 2016 to bring ebooks to their students. At the university level, students and professors have mixed feelings about incorporating ebooks into study, but digital resources are key of research practices and library holdings. The lower cost of electronic publication allows academic libraries to significantly expand their content and get content to borrowers more quickly. However, the growth of the ebook has been less extreme than expected only a few short years ago. In 2015, Aliyah predicted that digital library holdings will plateau at 20% of all library holdings, down from their prediction of 50% just 2 years earlier. Next slide. Factors to watch. Although subscription services are a boom to readers, it is unclear how they will impact authors. For independent writers, it could help grow their audience, but will likely also reduce revenue. The landscape is only becoming more competitive for authors, as ebooks do not disappear from the market over time like print books. Ebooks priced even as low as $2.99 will feel expensive compared to the $9.99 monthly Kindle Unlimited price, meaning authors will have little choice but to accept whatever Kindle Unlimited is willing to pay them. Kindle's ability to sync audiobooks and ebooks and the move to smartphones and tablets suggest a future with more complex multimedia books. But growth in this area is limited by how much more expensive audiobooks and other media are. Scribd's relationship with Marvel, which allows users to subscribe to both books and comics, also shows increasing merging of different genres of reading. It will be interesting to see how subscription services manage access to products. The romance genre alone seems to be able to put subscription services in the red because romance readers consume more books than their monthly fee can cover. Can subscription services afford to offer access to audiobooks, comics, and other multimedia? The huge growth in the number of titles published shows no sign of slowing, meaning that the availability of content is going to be overwhelming. Consumers need better ways of sorting through all of the available content to be able to find what we're looking for. There has been a lot of progress in terms of matching content to consumers through sites such as Netflix and YouTube, which have always had an enormous amount of content. And undoubtedly, the online system needs to get better at finding books for people. The biggest question is whether anything can be done to break Amazon's stranglehold on the ebook market and whether competition from other companies can have an impact. Apple's ability to challenge Amazon was limited when Apple lost an antitrust case regarding price fixing in the ebook market in 2016. This loss suggests that Amazon's dominance is unlikely to be challenged in the near term. This currently is good news for consumers who have access to more and cheaper books than ever before, but seems to be neutral to negative for publishers and authors. Next slide. Getting a job. For students interested in ebook technology, there are several avenues to getting involved. The easiest way is to write original content and self-publish it. Self-publishing is available to anyone with a computer and something to publish. There is work in translating print publications into ebook format. Programmers are needed to develop the software that is used to read, format, and sell ebooks. Algorithms need to be developed to help match readers to content that they will enjoy. Academia needs strong voices pushing for the development and inclusion of multimedia text for students. Publishing houses need people to find good content for the publishers to pursue and sell. As the ebook industry grows, people with technical writing and content development skills will be in demand. My thoughts. Ebooks have become a social norm. With the development of e-reader technology and its advances throughout history, it tells me that ebooks will be here for a very long time. Now, how we consume the message of the ebook, I believe, will change drastically. We have moved from printed books to computers, to e-readers, to tablets, onto smartphones. With each advancement, the technology seems to get smaller and less bulky. We can now read text messages and emails on our smartwatches that we wear. So I believe the next advancement of ebook technology will be wearable, maybe through the lenses of wearable glasses. That's just my take on it. This concludes our discussion of ebooks. My question for you today is, it is my opinion that our knowledge and imaginations are expanded through reading, whether printed or electronically. Since the reading protocol doesn't change, but the medium by which it is distributed does, how do you see future reading being distributed in the next 20 years and why? Be creative with your answers. Thank you for watching.